Good day to you all, podcast enthusiasts, the social media groupings, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and all other podcast environments and software available out there. This is Lawrence of the Lawrence Perspective, and the question I raised today is a unique one because it asks the questions about the March to March grouping of people in South Africa. In particular, the lady Ngobese Zuma. The question that arises is, where do these people get their income from if they spend most of their time marching in the streets of Johannesburg and Durban and Cape Town? What's their source of income? How do they sustain themselves? Everyone else has to go to work Monday to Friday and then rest on the weekend. You can't be exactly demonstrating every day. Unless, of course, you're a rich person or married to a rich man. I'm not sure whether you can sustain a lifestyle like that. Now, from what the sources say, Ngobese Zuma has some previous employment. She was a radio and media personality, and she was an award-winning presenter before becoming a full-time activist. Now, that's fair enough. That's good for her. And income from that career would have been a professional income source. And sometimes in South Africa, it's a good enough income to live on. The other thing she says is she's a farmer, and she does a bit of farming. And she's a wife, mother, and activist and a law student. Now, farming income can contribute, but the details are sketchy because it depends what type of farming, whether it's generating a regular income or a seasonal income. So we don't know that. And the actual funding of the grouping, the March movement, I'm not sure. The organization she leads, she's denied receiving any funding from them or from any corporate backers. She says the movement is suspended through crowdfunding, sale of branded merchandise, small contributions from supporters, and occasional assistance. For example, she acknowledged one business helped with costs of media briefing, and it was not ongoing, it was a one-off. Well, that's fair enough. And she has also stated that the movement uses personal resources. Wow, if people can have money to do that, then good luck to them. The question then is asked, how do you maintain a lifestyle, with that sort of background of funding, irregular funding? There's no evidence to indicate any wrongdoing, so I'm not suggesting anything like that. Well, mostly of the income must come from the media background, possibly. The only other question to ask is, who else is funding the system? How are political activists funded in South Africa? And as we all know, trade unions are funded in the normal way through contributions from members. And sometimes WhatsApp people contribute money through sources directly, or a fundraising event, a gala, a children's fete or something like that, or just selling merchandise. Sometimes merchandise can bring you adequate income, and sometimes online crowdfunding, GoFundMe, give me money so I can protest against immigrants. You won't see any immigrants contributing to that. But there is obviously a desire to maintain a degree of independence, and a sense of ownership among the supporters that this is our organization. But that funding is normally unstable, and salaries and travel costs can't be covered adequately. Now, the trade unions, obviously, their funding is in vast swathes of money, and that money can come in and ebb and flow. And sometimes there's even international support, because sometimes it's not encouraged, because that's seen as an influence, external influence on the system. Now, those other individuals that walk around and are regulars, the regulars on the March to March campaigns, there's still a question mark as to what their real source of income is. And somebody needs to ask them the question, what is your source of income? Where do you get your money from? If you don't get any money, how do you live? That suspicion in South Africa is very strong. Because it comes from a background of apartheid era funding, foreign funding battles, Cold War funding, corruption scandals, which are plentiful in South Africa, and state capture revelations where individuals come in, influential individuals come in and make a contribution expecting something in return. And that's the question to be asked. Who is paying for all this? And that suspicion remains quite a sticking point for organizations to come up and indicate exactly what the sources of income are. Now, if the truth be told, we don't know what their funding, where the funding comes from, and we can only speculate. And the speculation doesn't help anyone. But I put it on to Ngobese Zuma to come up and actually tell the world, where do you get your money from? Just be open-minded and be open so people can, remove any doubt as to the real source of income and how you're funding yourselves and as a going concern. And I remain with that question mark to ask the question. Ngobese Zuma, tell us, where do you get your money from? The second question is, those people that are marching on a regular basis, how are they sustained? Where is their income? Who pays for them to continuously march without actually working for an individual or running a business or a corporation? I remain Lawrence, asking that question, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.